Well, hello, and a very warm welcome to the Andrew Eborn Show with me, Andrew Eborn. And we're going to go to the other side of the world for the wonderfully talented Chantelle Mussell. How are you doing, Chantelle?
Hello, I'm great. How are you, Andrew?
I am doing incredibly well. And what I love about this joy of technology is you've been on every device in the house to connect to us, which is wonderful. And you're phoning in all the way from Canada.
Yes. Yeah. It's hilarious. It always makes me chuckle how, technology, it makes our lives so much easier until it doesn't work. And then so challenging. It's so ridiculous.
What I love is you have to do this thing because you're holding your phone out here.
Yeah.
You've got your other stuff. So this 20-hour interview that we're going to do,
Yeah, perfect.
Will gradually go down and down and down, isn't it?
I'll just be sleeping.
I know. We love it. It's always a thrill. But you're in Victoria at the moment, is that right?
Yeah.
I love Alberta. I love Victoria. I've been to many parts of Canada. I have cousins in Toronto, all the way from Toronto to Vancouver. I've performed in Banff, which is beautiful. I love Banff.
Yeah.
And I was over for the Olympic Games in Whistler as well.
Oh, you're practically Canadian. That's amazing.
Fully Canadian through and through, as much as the maple syrup. And I do a lot of work with Canada, which is wonderful.
Awesome.
I love it. Canadians are so talented.
Yeah, yes. That's so nice to say. Thank you.
It's always good. So tell me, you're in Alberta. You were born in Alberta. You talked about growing up in the small town of Alberta. Tell me about your childhood.
So small town. I think it was maybe 5,000 people while I was growing up.
Name them. Name them.
Yeah. Well, there's Mike from Canada.
I know Mike. How's he doing? Is he all right?
Yeah, Mike from Canmore. I went to the same high school as my dad. So, we have the same photos in your graduating hallway and stuff. So yeah, it was just a really small town. My family, I come from a long line of musicians. And so, any kind of holiday or birthday or just any gathering, everybody was playing, there would be 6 guitars and a flute and maybe a mandolin, a piano, just kind of, as many instruments as any of us could get our hands on. My grandfather was essentially at a concert level piano player.
What was your grandfather called? What was his name?
My grandfather?
Yeah.
His name was Jim. Yeah, Jim Mussell. Yeah. And so, he wasn't actually ever... So he never went to school, but one of my great aunties did. And she was at that level. And she would always say and he learned, he just learned by ear. He taught himself how to play, I think, on his neighbor's piano that was on their porch. And he was just one of those people that was just gifted with, he could hear something maybe once or twice and then just play it. And I've heard stories of him with 3 pianos just around him in a triangle. And he was, just this sort of phenomenon, and all of his kids. So he had 7 kids, my dad being in the middle of the 7, and everybody was just singing and a 7-part harmony and just wildly talented. So
the whole Von Trapp family, the Canadian Von Trapp family.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it was, it's curious to look back on it now as that being, just very normal. And obviously, it was so exciting. And, there's just such a certain kind of magic that's created when that many people are playing music together. And because they grew up playing music together, it was always just so on point, right? It wasn't, messy or out of tune, or everybody played a lot of the same songs. So
what songs would you be playing at these family gatherings?
Gosh, they would play James Taylor, or it seemed like there were a lot of Eagles, some old kind of old timey country, Bob Dylan kind of stuff. A lot of original music too. So just kind of a little bit of everything.
And I think that's the way, it's that sort of diversity. So you're surrounded with music. You're brothers and sisters yourself?
Yep. I have 2 brothers and a sister, and my sister sings and plays piano, and my brother plays guitar, my one brother, and sings a little bit. We're trying to write a song together. He lives in Alberta still, and I'm in Victoria. So he sent me some video, and I'm trying to piece it together. Because my uncle, who's sort of helping fuel a lot of this, all of this music jazz, is he's creating an album called Family Business. And it's anyone in the family who's created original music. He's funding the production and sort of marketing of that. And so my brother's gung-ho to write the next hit song that gets to go on the album. So we'll see.
But that's what you want. If you get family members, not only do they want to be on the album, but they want to put money into it. That's got to be
good. Yeah. It's been just an incredible experience because, like I said, growing up, it's what we did. It just comes so naturally, and it's just so cool to be able to work with everybody in this capacity. Especially at this time, right? You can't really see people. Our level of connection is sort of limited. And so this is a really interesting way where we use technology. Usually it works to share music with one another.
Really well. I can tell you, I think the only device we haven't used is the toaster to try and get you connected.
Yeah. And the warning sign I've never seen before. I'm like, what even is this? Anyway.
We love it. It's really good. But it is extraordinary times, as they say, about lockdown.
Yeah.
But one of the great things it does, it brings out the wonderful creative juices start to flow, don't they? And if all your family are musical anyway, the idea of collaborating with them in these times must have been amplified.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you kind of have to look at the silver lining of all of it. It's like, yes, we can't physically be together, but how can we connect in other ways? And like you say, collaborate, and just, you kind of really have to get creative, which I think in our family, there's, it's not just music, but it's art and it's cooking and it's all these different things. So it's become quite interesting the ways that we've, connected with one another. I would say, even connecting with certain, like I met a cousin the other day who I'd never met before. He lives in New Zealand, on a Zoom meeting. So it's kind of.
I was going to say, if your cousin lived in Alberta, you would have met them several times.
Yeah.
all around the corner. But fantastic, because that's the great thing, isn't it? One of the great things about this is people are now getting a global audience because they're getting used to speaking on these little devices. You're connecting in a way that you don't normally connect, and that it becomes much more intimate in terms of performance style as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, even me getting to talk to you, like, this is like, how cool is this for me? I mean, this is really cool.
Well, it's cool for me as well. It's fantastic. It's good. So have you done lots of online concerts as well?
I haven't done any. No, I played in a band before COVID hit. So I would play live stuff, but a cover band. So this is kind of my first time with my own music.
The clue was in the name of the band, wasn't it? The hits. It's got to be good.
Yeah.
What sort of music would you play with the hits? What sort of music would you play?
So we would play, like, we were like a party wedding kind of band, a very like performance-y. So I would have like big hair and like a Beyonce bodysuit and be dancing around. And we would do like hot stuff. Donna Summers was a big one. Kind of more like a little bit more retro, some contemporary stuff like Girls Just Want to Have Fun, all dancey, some Rolling Stones, just kind of like, the hits, a classic cover.
It's all there, but I love it. It's that sort of diversity if you're growing up on that sort of stuff. And so when did you, your first guitar, you've got a family full of musicians. Did you have to borrow? Did you get a hand-me-down, or did you get your first guitar yourself?
No, it's interesting because, I didn't start playing until I was probably 19 or so. So a full-grown adult. Living on my own, no big deal. But I think I bought it online because the internet existed back then, just barely. And I bought like $100 guitar, and I brought that thing like Southeast Asia, Eastern Africa. It went everywhere with me. At one point I had a little guitar we had these kind of lockers at the college that I went to here in Victoria. And so I had that there, but I bought like a cheap little blue guitar, and its name was Snake. I don't have it anymore.
Snake. It didn't even look like a snake. Why would you call it Snake?
Because it was like badass. I thought I was cool. So cool.
and the sort of music you played on Snake wasn't Girls Just Want to Have Fun then. What did you play on Snake?
Oh gosh, what was I playing? I think the very first song I ever learned how to play was Tom Petty. What's that? The most popular Tom Petty song there is. She grew up in an Indiana town. You know that one?
Yeah, that's great.
Anyways, like Tom Petty, Rod Stewart, always a little bit, some Rolling Stones back then, Neil Young, big Canadian kind of folky musician, some Leonard Cohen, and original stuff. Like early on, I started writing music. always very sad and very dramatic.
Yeah, I noticed that because I've got your fantastic perfect little failure.
Yeah.
You see, we can plug it. It all looks wonderful. But it's quite sad for somebody who seems so happy-go-lucky.
Yeah.
Stuff. It sounds as though, if you're talking from experience, you've had a tough time.
It's interesting because I think I present it anyways as a I'm a happy, bubbly, excited, exuberant person, but so I think that a lot of my sort of like the darker emotions and expression is able to come through music, because it's funny, I'll sit down and I'm like, okay, I'm writing a happy song, this is going to be a love song, it's going to be happy, and then it's about death. So it's just the way that
just rewind on that sentence. It's happy-go-lucky, and then it's about death. So it's just like, it's just,
it's like the seed of the song, the idea, the inspiration is planted in my brain, and then the obsession begins of like, I can't do anything else until I write the song. And it'll start out happy, but then I'm like, oh, it's far more compelling when I tap into like this experience or this feeling, or whatever's going on in the world or in my life, right? So I anticipate that someday I'll write something a little happier, but it's the producers, they're like, maybe the next song it could be a little more upbeat. I'm like, I don't know, maybe.
But it is that, and you've got like fantastic dreamy, bluesy, folksy sort of voice with it, but it's real heartache there, and I think this is the story. And when you're sort of turning around and you say you get all this exuberant and the bubbly stuff, but beneath us all, we're like onions, really, aren't we? We have different layers. You can have those happy moments. And what I find with the songwriters, the most powerful songs are those that come out of real life experience.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've been lucky. It's interesting in that the EP that I'll release this year is all, it's my life, and it's songs that I wrote, not necessarily with the intention of releasing them to the world. So they're very authentic. They're not necessarily like, it's funny now that I'm learning more about it. It's like, okay, well, you should put it together. It should be this many verses and then the bridge and then this, that, and the other. And I didn't write it with the intention of really sharing it on sort of a, global level. But yeah, for sure. The first EP is mostly just my life and my experiences. And that's all I had to pull from, that's all I really knew.
So in amongst all the family, then we've got to ask these sort of things, because you talk about deepest, darkest secrets and things. And you're wearing your life on your sleeve. You're talking about your own experiences. Talk me through, if you're happy to do that, talk me through some of those experiences that shaped your music.
I would say, a lot of the songs are kind of about like a lot of relationships, kind of, even just like dealing with, in Perfect Little Failure, someone cheating on you, and initially it's interesting because I wrote the song, or half of the song, with just kind of a theme in mind. It wasn't really pulling from real life, but I wasn't able to finish it. And then as it turned out, the person that I was seeing at the time was seeing someone else. And so I was able to like take that sort of like the pain and the anguish and the frustration and disappointment, and then weave together the rest of the song, finish, the first verse, tie it all up. And it kind of came together, which was really kind of like eerie in a way. It was like a premonition, like I sensed.
You don't want those sort of premonitions. You start about somebody cheating, and then somebody. How does that
actually funny?
Do a song about winning the lottery or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so then, and other songs would just be inspired by, a lot of it I would say is, relationships. I have a song that I'm going to release this year that's about more sort of, mental health and depression and anxiety, and kind of the desire to have your relationship or like love be the right medicine, which I think, in this past year, for sure, a lot of people have really, and just the conversations that we're having now more openly and freely about mental health and stuff. And that one is the one that started off as a love song and then kind of ended in death, which I changed. It doesn't end in death anymore, but it's just curious, it's just kind of, I think my own challenges, my own heartbreak, just the nitty gritty, like darkness. I don't know. That's what I find the most compelling and the most interesting to write. So, and it's maybe it's only media
to listen to as well. And I think the interesting thing, Chantelle, as well, is that we want to be the generation that talks about mental health, so that the next generation doesn't suffer the stigma.
And I think, even at my age, like it's just kind of, you didn't really, up until the last, 5 years or so, you didn't really talk about these things. And so I think even in a way, my music is a medium to express some of that darkness and some of that pain in a way that's less, face-to-face conversation. I think it's more sort of hidden, not anymore, but.
But do you find that therapeutic?
Yeah, I think so. I think, like I said, I get obsessed a little bit with whatever the concept is, the idea, if it's, something that's happened to me, or it's like how I get through a situation, like, heartbreak or someone, just something happening to you, something negative, right? I think it's a way to just like release that from your body, because otherwise you hold on to it, physically, I think, and mentally, you think about it. So it's a way to sort of get rid of it, rewrite the story, if you will, and move on.
So the title then, Perfect Little Failure, where did that come from?
So dramatic. But, it felt, I think at the beginning, the situation felt perfect, and, you're so happy with this person. And then in the end, it doesn't work out. And you feel like you failed, you failed one another. You try and do all these things, but it doesn't work. It doesn't fit. And in that sense, it's perfection, and it's it's failure.
But is that what you feel about yourself, or is that what they called you, or he called you?
No, I think it's just how I sort of reflect on the relationship. Like there were just, so many happy things and so much joy, but in the end, it's like you just can't make it work. No matter how hard you try, no matter how you reshape it, no matter how you change sort of the way you behave or the way you think, it's just like it's bound to fail. But in the end, too, like I'd like to think that the song has some sort of, an element of kind of inspiration or empowerment, in that it's like, now my bags are packed, the city's in the mirror. Like I'm out of here, I'm going to start over. While it is a perfect little failure, it's also the perfect opportunity to, begin again.
Yeah, so it's a message of hope. I mean, I always say that if necessity is the mother of invention, failure is the father of success.
100%. I mean, what do you learn? You learn so much more from your failures, from your mistakes, than you do oftentimes from your success, right? And 100%.
No, but not only that, this is why it's so good. I'm so pleased to have this. I actually wrote a book called The Book of Failure.
No way!
See, no, absolutely. We could do like a 2-for-1, couldn't we? We could
Amazing.
But you're right, because we need to shine a spotlight on the failures in order that you grow. And if you're working on that sort of relationship, then that all makes sense. Talk to me though, because your live performances, because you've opened for a number of great acts as well.
Mm-hmm.
Talk me about some of those.
Yeah, it's also wild. It's just sometimes I'm like, how is this my life? But I've been really fortunate to open for a couple of pretty big Canadian bands, country music bands, Pritchett, Washboard Union. One of my uncles puts on like a country rock festival up in the Yukon in northern Canada in the summer. He's made all these amazing connections with these great bands. Pritchett's actually a really good friend of our family, has been for years. So he would be at our family reunions and, out by the campfire playing songs, and just the nicest human, the nicest.
Everybody's battling for airtime, aren't they? All battling for airtime. So there's another musician. You get
exactly.
A concert goes on for days.
It's just like that kind of person though. Like we're just all, we're like flies to a light. You find one another, right? And I think pretty early on, like I think he came to the family reunion because he was in one of my cousin's weddings. He was in the wedding party.
Right.
And just immediately it's just like, oh yeah, here's a guitar, here's this, here's that. And he's pretty famous, so that's very cool for all of us, and just the nicest, most supportive. So actually it was him. He told my uncle, like, the first time they put on the concert, he was the headliner. He's been the headliner both years. And he was just like, you got to get her on stage. Because I was playing, at the sort of pre-party picnic barbecue. So he insisted that I go on stage. So fine. So I did a couple songs. And then the next year he's like, I won't come back unless Muscle and the Flex, which is my cover band, opens for us. And so, I've been given these pretty incredible opportunities. I think he sees, he must see something were sharing in me, and he's always pushing me to get up on stage and shine a little bit.
And you skated over that. It's one of the things that I always love, a good band name with a pun in it, but Mussell and the Flex, come on. I was so looking forward to that. It's very good. So you got rid of the Hits band. We called it the Hits. That's too easy. Mussell and the Flex. Come on.
Yeah, so good. And I got these t-shirts printed for them that had like really muscular men's bodies on them. And it was just, so funny. And then I'd be in this wild bodysuit, and we were just quite a sight to be seen. So it's funny, at this particular festival, we opened the night, and it's like 6 p.m. and it's a party band. It's like a wedding band. It's meant to be much later in the evening, where people have had a few drinks, not dead sober, watching me like bounce around in a bodysuit. But we did it. It was great.
The bodysuit then? You say you dress in this bodysuit.
Yeah. So it's just like, it's almost like a figure skating outfit, like figure skating meets like cowboy
like
boots.
big suits that you get.
No. Like more like not a bathing suit, but just
a stage outfit. Yeah. So
a stage outfit. Yeah, which is hilarious. Or like some Converse sneakers or cowboy boots, or just something silly. I think for me, a lot of the sort of costume vibes made me feel less scared to be on stage, because I was sort of like playing a role. I wasn't myself. It's the same with the cover band, so this is all very new and sort of terrifying.
Family setting, the concert for the family. What was the first concert you did for a live audience?
Oh gosh. I think, well, I used to play open mics, and I used to busk just on the streets in Victoria years ago.
How much people normally give you for busking? What's the going rate in Victoria?
I mean, that's been a few years, but I had this brilliant plan. I would wait until the bars let out. So it'd be, I don't know, 1, 2 in the morning. And I'd just go like outside near the bars. So people were rather intoxicated, and I'd play, and people would give me $20, $5, $10, hilarious. Not much.
You didn't want to go on at 6 because people weren't drunk enough. You wait outside bars and they give you more money. So this is music to be drunk to, basically. This is what you want.
Well, back then, this new stuff is like, it's a little more, it's matured, as have I, but yes, so funny. Our band played a show. Yeah, like I said, a couple open mics, which were terrifying, but fine. But then my band, like actually playing a show, we played a Christmas party, and there was probably like, 40 people there. And that would have been like 5, 6 years ago. So, and I love it. Like I'm naturally, I love performing. I love being on stage. I co-own a yoga studio in town, and I teach like a relaxation and music class. So I'm essentially performing every week for 12 people 3 times a week, which is it's like the loophole in the COVID system.
Those skills. A lot of I had lots of yoga teachers on here as well. You can come up with a yoga teacher next time. Lots of people turn into this virtual world, and they're doing lots of online lessons. Have you made that transition?
Yeah, definitely. So we have a yoga studio, and then I also co-own like a film production company in Victoria. It's been a busy few years, to say the least. So we actually, during COVID, we pivoted to, I think we've got like hundreds of online classes, which was grueling and ridiculous, because it's not just like our cell phones filming the classes. We had a multi-camera setup with lights and filters, and just, it was bananas. So I have pivoted into that, although I don't love it. I find too, because with my classes, I'm playing instruments and singing, and it's hard music to come through Zoom or some of the live stream video stuff. Like you have to have such great audio gear, and we've got decent audio gear, but it's a little trickier for what I'm teaching, just because we're picky.
Yeah, and that makes absolute sense. But you're doing the online stuff, and so the online concerts as well, to make that. The other great thing about it as well, though, is with the lockdown, is you get a global audience.
Yeah, exactly. Which is wild, to have, even with this, with music, it's so interesting owning businesses, in town, and that's very local. Like our reach is very much just within the city, but then to have, the music and some of the video stuff going to other countries is just such a crazy experience, to think that people, in other places are want to hear your song or watch your video. It's really pretty amazing.
No, absolutely. And apart from toxic relationships and things, like you also talk about, I mean, substance abuse and things like that. I mean, real challenging issues, and mental health and so on and so forth. Are you finding that a lot of people are relating to that with you as an artist, because you are effectively putting a voice to their own experiences?
I mean, I certainly hope so. I myself, I don't drink. I quit drinking a few years ago. And so,
so actually, bizarrely, you're not your target audience. So
I'm not.
Beforehand, you couldn't go on at 6 o'clock because they weren't drunk. You wouldn't come out of the bar. So.
Well, yeah, it's so funny. Like I just found, as I've gotten older, I'm just like, I just want to feel good. I want to be productive. I want, I'm so motivated to do so many things. And it's so curious. Like I've had other people in my life, just on social media and stuff, who they've, they're like, I'm sober, and they've shared their story. And I find it so inspirational. And for a lot of people, like, transformative. And and so it's interesting because it's not something I'm as, like, I don't really talk about it publicly, but it's made a profound, difference in just my health and well-being. I have these businesses, I teach yoga. I've sort of done like a complete, kind of 180 in some ways. And I think it's definitely, it's a story worth sharing. I think a lot of people, it's so easy to be sort of trapped in like just the habit of things and the routine of things. You forget that you can just go and like talk to a friend and not have a drink, right? And for me and a lot of people in my family, it's just sort of genetically, I think we're predisposed to it's just not the right medicine, and so, yeah, again, with this other song I just recorded, it speaks a little bit to that more kind of, the space of, toxic substances, which often lead to toxic relationships, which lead to toxic, maybe playing music at 2 a.m. out on the street. Like, well, that's weird. It's fine, in your youth, but as you get older, you kind of, your priorities change, and I just want to feel good, like never being hungover again. Yes, please. Yes, please.
No, absolutely. And how's the family reacted to your progression in with your careers? And I say
good, like,
because you've got film in there, you're doing yoga, you're doing music, recording artists. I mean, it's so many careers you're advancing all at once.
Yeah, I think they're just like, what is she doing now? What's happening next? But I think, again, it's just kind of, I've always been really like determined and motivated and, energized by all of these different sort of creative mediums. And it's interesting because it's really just been in the last few years that it's all come together, and everything's working in unison with, the next project and the next business. And I, my sense is that everyone's really proud. I'm sure my parents wish that I would, have children instead of build businesses, but maybe someday.
They are your productions, so you have plenty of time to do whatever you like. It's a career is a defined by whatever you want to do. What sort of movies are you doing? You mentioned about film production. What sort of stuff?
Yes, yeah. So right now we're filming. We do mostly documentary film, and then we've done all of our music videos. So my music video for Perfect Little Failure, my company produced and directed and edited and everything. And then we've done a few music videos for my uncle's band Paradise Motel, all sorts of different, like, we used to have more of kind of like a marketing business, so we did a lot of commercial stuff for small businesses. But right now we're working on a documentary about this new incredible project here in Victoria, where they're building tiny town, these tiny homes out of shipping containers, and facilities and everything for people. It's a transitional housing for people who are currently living in tents in some of the parks in town. And so we're filming a documentary on that. And then we've got all sorts of other, ideas. We want to do a little bit of fiction. Yeah, everything really, but mostly documentary.
Of course, you are the Swiss Army knife of talent, which is what I love about it, which is great. And are you in a happier place now yourself?
Oh yeah. It's it's interesting. Like I said, it's I'm 35, and I started really writing music and changing a lot of my habits, my sort of lifestyle at 30. So it's been 5 years of building businesses, quitting jobs, starting new jobs. So I would say it's been like Yeah, it's been wild, many a trial and tribulation, but honestly, I can sit here today and this year, even with everything that's happened with COVID, and I feel so certain that I'm on the right path and I'm doing the right things, and I'm just excited to create more, to see what else I've got up my sleeves,
Yeah, and it could be interesting to see the difference between the album with all the failures, and the next one will be the success. You'll have to call.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, perfect little failure becomes a huge success. You work on the thing. It could be the absolute transition. It's been an absolute delight catching up with you. I'm glad that the hamster wheels were working well. We managed to connect in the end. Which was what's going to be your big plan after you're let out into the big wide world after lockdown?
Oh gosh, I think we're keen somehow. We're going to try and figure out a UK tour. My uncle and I, but we're playing a show in a couple months in Alberta, like a drive-in concert, which will be very cool with Aaron Pritchett and his son and daughter-in-law's band Cross Parallel, and then my uncle with Paradise Motel. So we're doing that in May. I would like to do some traveling, just like go take a vacation, maybe would be fantastic. But yeah, eventually like actually hit the stage and pound the pavement a little bit. Not after the bar or at 6 p.m., but maybe a more, productive time. And just see how it lands, see what people think of all these sad songs.
Brilliant. Well, I love the sad songs. I can't endorse it enough. It's absolutely brilliant. And it's been a delight having you on the show.
Oh, thank you so much, Andrew. This was great.
Thanks very much. Look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care, Chantelle.
Bye.
Bye. So thank you again to my special guest, Chantelle Mussell. Do get your hands on this wonderful, perfect little failure, wearing her heart on her sleeve, as she has said. If you want to be a guest on the show, you can write to me at guests@octopustv.com. That's guests@octopustv.com. Don't forget, you can follow me at Andrew Eborn at octopustv, and you can subscribe on all of the usual channels. But for me, for now, thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time.